The following program is rated M for a mature audience. It contains coarse language.
There are plenty of suggestions floating around at the moment that the ABC is bowing to government pressure and failing to do its job, that we self-censor to make sure we don't annoy the government, and that we're cowering in the face of threats of budget cuts. I want to talk about how our journalism might have to change in response to all this pressure. So here goes.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to mediawatch. And that was the ABC's editorial director, Alan Sunderland, in a video emailed to staff last week. So, are there big changes on the way? We'll see in a moment. But if you've been watching mediawatch, you'd know it's been pretty tough at the ABC of late.
It's been a clusterfuck. A statistically random clusterfuck.
The worst couple of weeks in the ABC's modern era.
Auntie's troubles began early last month with a grovelling apology to Kevin Rudd and the handing back to the government of secret cabinet files. Perhaps not what the Washington Post would have done. Then 2 weeks later, after complaints from the PM and Treasurer, the ABC took down and/or rewrote two Emma Alberici articles about corporate tax, thus sparking a new wave of criticism about buckling to pressure. The ABC denies that charge, but no doubt Sunderland felt he needed to rally the troops, and this was his message.
This is what needs to change about our editorial approach during these risky and sensitive times. Nothing. Now that may be a little high-level, broad-brush summary, so let me break it down for you in a little more detail. Absolutely nothing.
Yes, it's feisty stuff, and we get the idea. But given that the ABC has said it will strengthen its editorial processes, was the do-nothing line really so wise? Inevitably, the ABC was soon the target of more bad headlines and of ridicule from the commentariat.
Insight into delusion within their ABC. A commitment to change absolutely nothing. A finger in the air to taxpayers.
This capped off another bad week for the ABC, in which Sunderland and his managing director Michelle Guthrie were roasted at Senate estimates in Canberra, where neither offered a coherent explanation of what was wrong with Alberici's articles, or provided a ringing defence of ABC independence. According to Crikey's Bernard Keane, it was memorably bad.
In the annals of ABC's estimates appearances, there's rarely been a less glorious performance from an ABC executive than from one-time journalist Alan Sunderland last night.
Alan Sunderland's defiant message to staff was shot straight after that session. Just a shame he wasn't able to get his fighting message across when it mattered. And also a shame that when asked if she still had confidence in Alberici, Michelle Guthrie could offer nothing stronger than this.
Do you have full confidence in your chief economics editor, Emma Alberici?
Senator, I can say to you that Ms Alberici is our chief economics correspondent and will continue to be our chief economics correspondent.
And while we're on the subject of the ABC, we couldn't miss this stunning piece of hypocrisy from Nick Cater, former editor of the Weekend Australian. Cater's old paper has run at least 24 stories on Emma Alberici's mishap. And last week he joined the attack with a column that accused her of damaging the brand.
Like the ABC employing her, Alberici has lost authority.
And in line with his former colleagues at the Oz, Cater's verdict was damning.
Suffice to say, Alberici has irrevocably lost the authority that should attach to her position by aligning herself with the economic equivalent of the anti-vaccination movement.
But for sheer breathtaking nerve, that surely wins the prize. Because just 5 months ago, Cater's shoddy journalism forced The Spectator magazine to cough up $573,000 in costs and damages to settle a defamation action. That huge payout damaged The Spectator so much, there were fears that the Australian version might be forced to fold. So, how was Cater to blame? Well, in August 2015, he wrote this self-congratulatory piece on Queensland's 2011 Grantham floods.
Dam busters, how Cater and Jones burst Grantham's wall of lies.
Cater's cover story praised Nick Cater and shock jock Alan Jones, while blaming the deaths of 12 people in the flood on a family of Grantham quarry owners, the Wagners, pronouncing,
"It was a man-made tragedy, triggered by a collapsing quarry wall. Someone has to answer for that."
Only problem was, 2 months later, the official inquiry into the floods cleared the Wagners of any such charge, concluding the tragedy was
a natural disaster, and no human agency caused it or could ever have prevented it.
In the report, Flood Commissioner Walter Sofronoff QC also commented that the Wagner family
had been subjected to many untruthful allegations by certain sections of the media.
And no prizes for guessing who he had in mind. So, faced with probable defeat and a huge bill for costs, the Spectator decided to surrender without going to trial. But, alas for Cater, his troubles are not yet over, because he and Jones are still being sued by the Wagners for $2.5 million in damages for comments like this on 2GB and 4BC.
It's very hard to escape the conclusion that if it was not for the quarry wall, 12 people would not have lost their lives that day.
The defamation case is set down for 7 expensive weeks in April. Let's hope for Nick Cater's sake it doesn't further damage his brand. But now to an argument about ethics and the media's behaviour during last month's mass shooting at a Florida school where 17 people died. Here is America's Today Show on the morning after the massacre.
Samantha, first I want to know how you're feeling. I know you did get some bullet wounds, and I know your best friend was shot right next to you.
Yeah.
Do you know how she's doing?
Yeah.
Have you been able to hear what happened to her?
Yeah, unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Samantha, we're so...
Yeah.
We're so sorry about that, Samantha. So sorry. Are you okay, honey?
Some criticised that interview for exploiting a traumatised survivor. Others defended it for bringing home the brutal reality of America's obsession with guns. And that was certainly made even more real by footage like this.
Just as the school day was ending, the shooting started. This cell phone video captured the gunfire and the screams of the high school students trapped inside their classrooms.
Bullets flying and students screaming may be hard to watch, but for the media, it's ratings gold. So, how do the networks get their footage? From social media, of course. That video was uploaded to Snapchat by high school student Matt Walker, where it was snapped up and broadcast by news organisations around the world. And it was the same with this photo.
Forced to hide wherever they could.
Which is what Adam Minoff was doing, hiding under a desk when he live tweeted those pictures. Only at the time he'd added this dramatic caption.
My school is being shot up and I'm locked inside. I'm fucking scared right now.
One of the first responses to that terrified tweet was from the media, asking,
Please let us know how you are doing. Can Local 10 News publish these?
Classy stuff, although also strangely considerate to be seeking permission, which US media generally do. And Twitter reacted as you would expect to a terrified 14-year-old being hounded at such a time.
Are you fucking serious asking that right now?
But that didn't stop dozens of other media organisations pleading for permission to use his tweet or to get more information. Nor did it stop one CBS Evening News producer asking,
Can I call you? Are you still there?
Now, it's Journalism Ethics 101 to avoid putting a person in danger by calling them while they're under fire. But a look back at past US massacres shows similar media disregard. Here's a Twitter exchange during an Oregon school shooting in 2015.
Students are running everywhere. Holy God.
Can you call me? I am with CNN. Follow me back.
She didn't even ask if she was okay. There are, of course, countless examples of journalists using social media to find victims, from the Manchester bombing, the Nice terror attack, and other US shootings in the last 2 years. And that practice has opened reporters to much greater scrutiny. Journalists have always done what's called the death knock, lobbing up to a grieving family's front door to get the story and the picture. But now they're doing it all in the public eye, in 280 characters from their desk, while all hell is breaking loose. And as the Washington Post's Paul Fahey argued after that 2015 Oregon shooting,
social media now makes this process transparent. People can now see in real time the dirty work that reporters undertake.
And judging from the reaction on Twitter last month, people are increasingly shocked to discover how the sausages get made.
Look at the replies on this. The kid is literally in lockdown at school this very second, and there are reporters begging for use of the photo for free whilst he is under duress. Disgusting behaviour by them.
But are journalists just doing their job and bringing us the news that everyone is begging for? Paul Fahey argues that, in general, they are.
This is how news is gathered and how the public gets accurate information when news breaks. That is, the only way to separate fact from fiction in a news story is by going directly to the people involved.
And Bruce Shapiro, who runs Columbia University's Dart Centre for Journalism and Trauma, backs that up.
People seeking to pour contempt on reporters covering mass shootings should ask themselves, don't we need accurate, independent accounts of traumatic events?
But everyone agrees there have to be limits, and that there's one hard and fast rule.
While a shooting is taking place, the safety of students should be paramount. The Utoya Island shooter in Norway used the ringing of summer campus cell phones to target children who were hiding. Even text or Twitter messages to a hiding student could bring danger if a notification vibrates or if a shooter were monitoring an open Twitter feed.
But how do you ensure you're not putting people in danger if you're reporting those terrible events as they happen? We're not entirely sure. Journalists reporting the Florida shooting were lucky they didn't. But next time around, they and the victims may not be so fortunate. Extreme care is needed. And finally, before we go, we just have time for a health check. So let's go to the team at Studio 10.
I don't think many of us still realise how serious heart disease is and how many Australians it kills.
Well, look what happened yesterday. Steve Folkes died suddenly. A man who is super fit. And you'd look at him and say there's no way he could have heart disease.
Yes, the death of a rugby league legend is a wake-up call to all of us. But what can we do to prevent it? Luckily, the team was ready to give us the answer.
Are there natural options that people can use to lower blood pressure?
Absolutely. Something that I find really very useful is this thing called Kyolic aged garlic extract.
Aged garlic extract. Now, where have we heard that one before?
Nutrilife Kyolic aged garlic extract may help to support healthy blood pressure and cholesterol levels. It's a simple daily routine you can follow.
Ah, yes, those TV ads from former Nine star Lisa Wilkinson. Back in September, we told you about Lisa's claim that those miracle garlic pills can reverse the effects of heart disease, and how some doctors believe it's bulldust. Indeed, Dr. Ken Harvey, Associate Professor at Monash University's School of Public Health and Preventative Medicine, had complained about the ads to the Therapeutic Goods Administration, arguing,
"In my opinion, the current promotion of Kyolic aged garlic extract to the public by Nutrilife Australia, and especially by their national ambassador and TV personality Lisa Wilkinson, is unconscionable."
Ouch! Well, Dr. Ross Walker, a Sydney cardiologist and long-time believer in the benefits of vitamin supplements, obviously didn't get that memo. Nor did Studio 10, because on Wednesday they were both singing the praises of the little capsule.
It's odourless and it has a very good evidence base behind it. For example, there's a study of 88 people with blood pressure showing that if you took 2 capsules of this Kyolic aged garlic every day, it reduced blood pressure the same as a pill.
That's a study cited by Nutrilife, which, as we told you last year, was paid for by the manufacturer and only monitored 88 patients who already had acute problems. And yet, Studio 10's panel of experienced journalists, Natasha Belling, Ita Buttrose, Joe Hildebrand and Jessica Rowe, were all strangely unquestioning of the good doctor's claims.
It's often hard to tell the difference between what is just some sort of, weird, hippie-trippy person saying, oh man, we've got to be natural, and what the science actually backs up. The science
is very solid for this. Absolutely.
Well, actually, it isn't. And that whole section looked to us like a giant ad, which, as we soon found out, it was.
Is proudly brought to you by Nutrilife Kyolic aged garlic, helping to support healthy blood pressure.
Yes, the entire conversation was paid for and scripted, or at least engineered to give the product a plug. As to what you'd call that, Channel 10 told us helpfully,
it was not an advertorial, but a paid segment. Like other morning and daytime television programs on other networks, Studio 10 includes paid segments and advertorials.
Well, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, the essential point is the advertiser is paying for it all to happen. However, Dr. Walker tells mediawatch he was not paid a cent. But he was told he'd have to spruik Nutrilife's aged garlic, and he was happy to do so, telling mediawatch,
to me, this is a great product. My whole reason to exist is to give the message of good health.
And very ethical of him to do it for free, given the fat cheque Nutrilife will be writing to 10, and also to Lisa Wilkinson, who is now in the 10 stable. But viewers, beware. As we showed earlier this year, with Officeworks buying its way onto 9 News, ads dressed up as editorial are becoming ever more common. And you can read more about tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or MediaWatch on Twitter. And don't forget, Media Bites every Thursday. Q&A is up next, but for now, until next week, goodbye.